Hello and welcome to part 3 of Our Lives Beginning and Always. Yes, that's right, I am actually renumbered it because this is going to be a longer playthrough. I want to do all the options. I found out I really liked it. It seems to be a much longer game than I anticipated, but I'm enjoying it. So I'm really hoping to get through the end of it, maybe do some more of it with the DLCs and the different options and things like that. So hopefully it'll be a kind of featured series on the channel. Anyway, we're gonna get into it. It is a lot of reading. It is a lot of getting into the moment. So get your popcorn, get your hot chocolate, get a warm hug, and let's get into this. So, continue. Growing up, here we go. Quick. One sweltering summer day, you were in your living room with Cove, listening to the sound of the birds chattering outside the window while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your mom had left the two of you, along with Lizzie, to play amongst yourselves. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to Mummy, so your sister was starting to get impatient waiting for her golf class that evening. The three of you had had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt that it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. Then suddenly a light came to Lizzie's big brown eyes, and her smile spread wide across her face. Having an idea gave her a new wave of energy. Since we're stuck inside, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyway. They're always inside telling everybody they're too busy to play. I love this so much. To be fair, people get so busy now with work and things that are going on, and it ends up being that, yeah, you end up planning like almost a month in advance just to see your friends anymore because there's just so much going on. So yeah, I can see it coming off this way. I said why, and it'll be fun, duh. What do they do inside that we don't, besides use the phone a lot? Excluding a small huff, Lizzie decides to ignore Cove. Jamie, what do you think? What do you want to do? Okay, so I don't know, I bet we could come up with something else. Cove said it, that doesn't sound fun. Ooh, okay. I bet we can come up with something else. But that's what I'm going to do, and it's not as fun when I play pretend adult by myself. Do you do that a lot? What's it to you? Looking at Lizzie, it seemed Cove felt he could understand where she was coming from, and he sighed. Do you really not want to play, Jamie? It was clear he wanted some way out, but still felt guilty about it. Ooh. You kept hesitating. Sorry, I have other stuff to do. Okay, I'll stay. I'll try it, but that sounds boring. Let's do this one. It's not going to be a guarantee. Lizzie seemed more determined than ever, and you could only sigh. Satisfied that neither of you were about to bail on her, Lizzie thought over her options while you watched. After a few seconds, she clapped her hands together and beamed, apparently having settled on something without asking either of you. I'm going to be a professional golfer. Jamie, you and Cove can be a beach volleyball player, a gymnast, or a tennis player. Why can't we pick anything we want? Because I have a fun idea, that's why. And we have to play sports as adults? Yup. But there's other kinds of sports too. It isn't the same. What do you think, Jamie? Don't these choices sound super cool? You want to be that, huh? Maybe not. You nod. Isn't there anything else we can be? Haha, it sounds like a blast. It really doesn't. I kind of like those. Ooh, okay. We want to get along with him. We'll try this. Nope, come on, just decide already. Knowing Lizzie wouldn't let this go anytime soon, you sighed. Cove was not impressed with Lizzie's attitude, though he didn't bother talking more about it for now. You thought over the list of possibilities. Beach, volleyball, gymnast, or tennis. Out of all of them, you prefer to play tennis, gymnast, or beach volleyball. I've actually played these two before. I think gymnast would be an interesting, different change. Right clicker. If you couldn't spend the afternoon doing cartwheels and handstands on the back garden, then you might as well practice them on inside. There wouldn't be as much space as there was outside, but you could still try. Yes, that was clearly the top option. I guess I'll be a gymnast. How about you, Cove? I picked volleyball. I should have known. Okay, so Jamie, you're a famous gymnast, and Cove, you're on a popular beach volleyball team, and Lizzie's ponytail bobbed when she proudly stretched her arms wide. We're Olympic athletes who just competed in the Olympics. Cove didn't seem all that impressed with the announcement. He made a face and adjusted the glasses on his nose. That's really specific. Oh, that's what makes it fun. Anyway, Lizzie marched back and forth in front of us, getting lost in her own imagination. I won all gold medals, and people are calling me the next Mickey Wright. No idea who that is. I'm not gonna lie. Who's that? Okay, there you go. Lizzie stopped on the spot and turned on him, her brown eyes shining with impatience. It doesn't matter if you know who she is. It's a golf thing. You guys won medals too. Cove, your team was bronze. Cove, your team was bronze, and Jamie, you barely missed out on the gold and got silver. It's more real if we're not all first place. Yeah, I'm sure it is. You stayed silent. Silver's not bad, nice. Hey, we can do better than silver. I'm okay with that. Silver sucks. I don't want silver. I'm like, hey, we can do better than silver. Silver's not bad, whatever. I mostly got participation awards in school, so, you know, I ain't gonna complain. Silver's an upgrade. It may not be the first place, but you knew that silver medals were still really good to get at the Olympics. But isn't gold? Lots of people lose at the Olympics. Them's the breaks. Then you're the one who did, not me. Lizzie looked taken aback by Cove's declaration, as though the thought of her losing was completely absurd. No way, it wouldn't make sense. I'm already practicing my golf game. She took a golf stance to make her point, pretending to swing her club and hit an invisible ball. So what kind of house do you want to live in? Cove hadn't changed his mind about winning, but thinking about where he'd live as an adult appealed to him, apparently because he looked back at Lizzie with some of the anger fading. I'm going to live on the beach. Lizzie made a face at him, poking at her tongue. That's kind of boring. We already have that. No, not like the normal house, where here with a street on it, right on the sand by the water. I would love that. Just like that, all the tension was back. You hadn't even had a chance to choose where you want to live. That's not very fun or smart, Cove. You can't live on a bunch of sand and shells. But I want to, and I will. Cove narrowed his eyes at Lizzie, even though she stood half a foot taller than him, or half a head taller than him. You didn't give out a list of things to pick from this time, so I'm picking that. Why are we even playing pretend if we can't imagine anything? Well, I'm going to live in a mansion far away from here, and far away from you. One with an indoor pool and a place to practice my award-winning golfing. How come you were yelling about mine when your idea is even more impossible? Liz's face flushed red, her hands falling into fists at her sides. It is not impossible, and it's better than yours. Disagreements always seemed to crop up between the two of them when they were together, and you always felt like you were stuck in the middle. But when it came to a topic at hand, this time you thought, okay. You were tired of deciding between them. Cove was right. You wanted to agree with Lizzie. Being on the beach was cooler. You preferred a mansion. I guess we'll do, because we're trying to make things work with Cove, although it seems like every time I try to take his side, he hates me, but let's go for it. Cove's idea is good. You shouldn't say yours is the only right one. No one asked for your opinion. Cove granted you a small nod, which was a rare amount of acknowledgement for him. You didn't think it was that big of a deal. You can swim whenever you want if you live on the beach. We can still swim anytime we want from where we live now. Being in a little closer doesn't mean anything. Says you. Two of them scowl at each other. Oh my goodness. Kid arguments. You're being so unreasonable. I don't get what you want. This game doesn't make sense. It does. You have to be realistic. I said that. But you're not. You had no idea what to do to make them stop at this point. It seemed like the two of them would just keep working each other up as long as they could. Nothing you said so far had kept them from being mad. Thankfully, like a greeting card angel, Mom walked into the room. Lizzie rushed to her, hanging onto the hem of her skirt and poking out her tongue at Cove. Lizzie! Jamie! It's time to get ready to go. Sorry you have to leave already, Cove, their mommy said. She'll walk you home so you won't be left in the cold. Cove was still glaring at Lizzie, his face flushed red with anger. I can go by myself. But without giving Mom a chance to stop him, Cove stood up and stalked out of the room, shoulders drawn tight. Okay. Worried, Mom turned to look down at you and Lizzie. You two were playing nice with our new friend, weren't you? Oh. Guess the truth? They were fighting, Cove and Lizzie, for the whole time. Your sister's jaw dropped, looking betrayed, as Mom put both her hands on her hips. Elizabeth, I told you to be kind to him. He's having a hard time right now. Real life, I tend to take the family side, alright? Not gonna lie. But I'm trying to get a good placement with this guy. So the game doesn't end with us being disagreement, but we'll see. Lizzie's mouth closed back up, replaced by a teeny frown. And to be fair, Lizzie was being kind of a biatch, not gonna lie. I know, I tried, but he was... No buts. We both know you can show someone a great time when you put your mind to it. That's the other thing. Maybe she'll learn to be nicer. We're going to apologize to Cove and his dad over the phone when he gets home from work tonight. Lizzie hung her head, dragging a foot across the ground in front of her. Okay, Mom. Good girl. You caught pieces of Lizzie sulking to herself about how it was his fault too, but it was over. Ah, right. We better get a move on. Let's go, kids. Noliani? Where did you leave the keys? Mom hustles you out the door, and you notice during the car ride to the golf practice that Lizzie was quieter than usual. She was usually the first one to request which music to listen to in the car, but she didn't say anything. Your parents noticed she wasn't in a mood to be bothered. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked you what you'd like to listen to. You picked a favorite song that always made the car ride more fun. You chose the soundtrack to a cool movie you saw a couple months ago. You choose a song you knew Lucy liked. Maybe that would cheer her up. Yeah, let's do that. You were happy to see it brightened her up right away, and she started to sing along with you. Soon enough, her bad mood was a thing of the past. Nice. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hour watching Lizzie hit things with other girls her age. That could be taken in so many different ways. Just fucking takes a bat to anybody else. Fucking bat to the head, bitch. I don't care. This is such a nice game, and now I'm like swearing like a sailor. My apologies. But my mind takes it to that place. You didn't know much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it, so you sat with your moms and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice. I don't understand it much either. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day, and you stretched out your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. When the sun was finally out of sight, dipping behind the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your mom took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you had all been going to ever since you could remember. The whole afternoon had been a bunch of shouting. You hadn't been able to stop, but you could kind of tell that all this helped Lizzie be less angry. Oh, good. The car ride was quiet, with only the radio providing escape from silence. Lizzie had been in better spirits now, but the closer you got to your neighborhood, the more she wriggled in her seat and frowned out the window. She knew what was coming when you all got home. Clearly, she was dreading it. Soon enough, Mom was turning onto your street, then reversing into the driveway. Once she cut the engine or the ignition, it was dead silent. No one spoke, only unbuckled their seatbelts and opened the door. Lizzie was the last one out. Once everyone was inside and done taking off their shoes, she propped her hands on her hips. Now then, Mr. Holden's car is in the driveway, so he should be back from work. That's good news, isn't it, Elizabeth? You and Cove can hash things out before the day's done. Lizzie didn't complain or put up a fight. Her head ducked, so she didn't have to meet anyone's eyes. She nodded once. Good, let's move this to the kitchen. Mom went over to the house phone. The rest of you followed behind her. Maya put a gentle hand on Lizzie's shoulder as they walked side by side. You watched them from the back. This was only happening because you told on Lizzie. Didn't regret it. You felt a little bit guilty, like you had betrayed your sister. You hadn't liked doing it, but had to. But it was her fault for doing it in the first place. I guess felt guilty. You could still remember the look on Lizzie's face. There was no doubt she felt that way about it. Lizzie could hold a grudge if she was really upset. Would she hold this over you? You hope not. The four of you stood around the kitchen in a lopsided square. All eyes were on Lizzie, who kept her gaze on her feet. You remember the number of Cove's house, don't you, honey? Lizzie jerked her head in another nod, sullen. Without further prompting, she stepped forward and began to dial. Mom reached over and pressed a button on the base. Suddenly, you could hear the phone ringing. She turned on the speaker. The phone rang a couple times and stopped. Mr. Holden's warm voice came through on the other end. Evening! Holding resonance. Lizzie looked over at Mummy unsure. She nodded encouragingly. Hi, Mr. Holden. It's, Lizzie. Can I talk to Cove?
Absolutely.
Lizzie wondered, what a surprise. But of course you could say hey to the boy. He sounded cheery as usual, though definitely meant it when he said it was a surprise. You thought hard, and you were sure that your sister had never called Cove's house before. Mom spoke up before Mr. Holden or Lizzie could say anything more. Her arms were crossed over her chest, her lips pursed. Hi, Cliff. Nolani, Jamie, and I are here too. Good evening. We're sorry to bother you so late. You spoke up to say hello too. You said nothing to Cove's dad. Oh, we'll just say nothing. You shifted from one foot to another, but we knew where you were. The gang's all here, huh? Is something the matter? His voice grew a bit concerned. Molly was quick to reassure him. No, well, yes, but it's going to be okay. Lizzie and Cove got into a bit of a fight today. We were hoping the two of them could talk and make up. Is this a good time for you and Cove?
What?
A fight? Cove didn't tell me anything about that when I came home. It does explain the funk he's been in tonight. He chuckled lightly. Despite that, it didn't seem like he really thought it was funny. Anyway, it's good you didn't catch us at a bad time. I'll go grab him for you. There was some shuffling on the other end. He must have gone far because you could still hear him calling out. Cove, there's someone on the phone for you. After a bit of silence, there was more muffled talking from Cove's dad. Come on, bud. Lizzie called just so she could talk to you. It took a bit of back and forth. The conversation seemed one-sided since you couldn't hear Cove properly. Eventually, Cove took the phone from his dad. Hello? Hey, it's Lizzie. Yeah, I know, Dad told me. Cove's tone was defensive. Lizzie turned to Mom, scowling. One stern look from her, though, and Lizzie turned away. Sorry. I just called to say I'm sorry for not playing nice with you today. I won't do it again. Lizzie's eyes were downcast and her voice was low. You could tell she felt uncomfortable apologizing to Cove in front of everyone. She was still being genuine about feeling bad. Cove must have realized that too because he sighed quietly. I want gold. Lizzie was momentarily stunned silently by the demand. You couldn't understand why that mattered so much to him. Alright, you win gold. Okay, I guess I'm sorry too. A sense of relief washed over everyone as his acceptance of the apology. Mom crossed her arms while Mommy's shoulders relaxed. Lizzie's eyebrows raised up. You wonder if she thought that he'd refuse her apology. Dad, can I get off the phone now? You couldn't see him, but it was obvious that Cove felt awkward about the situation. He had come off uncomfortable the entire time, really. Yeah, you can go back to your room if you want. Be sure to say goodbye first, though. Bye, Lizzie. Bye. With that said, Cove must have handed the phone to his dad and left. since Mr. Holden spoke up.
That's a relief.
All's well that ends well, as they say. Thanks for arranging this. I'm sure he appreciates it. As Mom replied, Lizzie tugged on Mom's hand to catch her attention. Can I go now too? Sure, sweetie. Thank you very much for apologizing. Apologizing to Cove. Mom flashed a brief smile at Lizzie and nodded her agreement. Given permission to leave, Lizzie scurried off toward the stairs. She seemed to be feeling much better with the incident behind her. Mom and Mommy returned to the phone, taking it off speaker. They continued to talk to Mr. Holden. You couldn't tell what about. You were glad that was the end of it all. Lizzie and Cove might not get along, and probably still won't, but they weren't mad at each other anymore. Mom and Mommy weren't upset either. Everything was finally back to normal. With that thought, you retreated to your own room with a spring in your step. Nice. We've done ourselves well. Okay, well, I will say that was Grown Up. I think from what my research says, there should be 5 of each. So it'll go based on 5 for each step. So in that case, we should have a decent amount of episodes. There's 3 steps with 5 moments, so there should be about 15 episodes if we go that way. And hopefully in the future we can do the DLCs. So thank you so much for watching. This should be a long series, I believe. I'm really enjoying it. I'm kind of glad actually that it turned out longer, even though I was going towards shorter games. And I'm hoping to keep going with this and continuing it. So again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying it as well. Maybe it's more of a background noise for you. I hope that that works for you, if that is what you're watching it for. I know that I enjoy that, and I think it's going to be a fun trip, and I want to see what happens. So hopefully we get a good ending and things go well. I hope to come back to it as well when I get some of the DLCs and work things out, but I guess we'll see. That is the choices of life, so we'll just have to see where it takes us. And like I always say, don't forget to keep on watching.